I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're diving into the heartwarming and poignant world of Alpha Bette. It is a wonderful novel that captures the essence of family dynamics, love, loss, and the art of moving on. Penned by the multifaceted Jennifer Manocherian, whose diverse background ranges from family therapy to Broadway production, this story unfolds through a unique dinner party hosted by 95-year-old widow Bette Gartner. As we navigate through the day leading up to this event, we explore the lives, dreams, and struggles of Bette's guests, culminating in a night of unexpected revelations. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Jennifer, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. This is such a great book. Alpha Bette is such a great tapestry of interconnected lives and emotions. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to write this novel and choose a dinner party as the pivotal event.
Well, that's a question that even I can't answer, and who else could answer but me? But this book was kind of a process of finding itself and what it was. And in terms of the dinner party at the end, I guess that came to me fairly early in the process of writing it. But I honestly don't remember because it just evolved. I mean, it was such an organic process of kind of finding the story. I never thought I'd write a novel, and it wasn't a bucket list thing. It wasn't anything else, but I had been kind of writing some stories, and more than anything, COVID gave me that option, that possibility with the time that the theater basically shut down, which is what I had been doing primarily at the time. And it just opened up a window for me of time to really focus on this and to find my story and to find my characters. I got rid of some characters. I had a lot of feedback from friends, which, I mean, I am of the view that it's not a good idea to write in isolation. You need a lot of feedback from people to kind of help you find your story. I mean, the things people say to you, you feel like an idiot afterwards for not having thought of it, but it just doesn't, to me at least, everything doesn't come all at once. But the characters, I think I should know, but I can't tell you at this second if I'm correct. I think there's 7 different characters who have their own chapters and different points of view. So you get to know everybody through that. But that was, I guess I felt early on that was the only way I could tell this story. And maybe that's because I don't know. I mean, maybe if I had written more books, I would have figured out a way to do it to get into everybody's head. But I'm kind of big on point of view when I write and whose point of view of it. And it's very hard with so many different characters to really know who they are and what they're all about by doing it all within the point of view of one character.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great way to do it, to have dedicated chapters to explore each character. It really makes the person come to life. Did your background in family therapy and divorce mediation influence the way you shape these characters and the stories that go with them?
Well, yes. I mean, what I know about people, about relationships and whatever, it's, everything in my life kind of adds up to this moment because I have a large family. I've having lived a fairly long time on this earth. I think maybe even before I had any training, I just think instinctually I have a certain amount of empathy where people tell me their stories. I'm interested in stories. I love stories. I could take a cab in New York and come out with his life story in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like just the dynamics between people. I mean, I hope it all feels authentic and real to me. That's really important to me. Developing 3-dimensional characters who feel very believable to me is something that I really work hard on. And I hope I got it.
Oh, I think you did. Now, you do have a background in theater production, of course. Have you envisioned this perhaps as a play? I could see this as a stage
No,
play. No?
no. I mean, well, of course. I mean, when you say that, I could, I guess the dinner party by itself could be the whole
Yeah, I mean, you
play.
start at a dinner party, then somebody stands
But
up and
I'm
does a
not looking for
monologue, and
extra work. If you'd
yeah,
like
yeah.
to, if you want to adapt it, be my guest. I mean, people say to me, "Oh, this is a movie," because I've done movies. I've written movies too, and I just produced a movie that I wrote. And I just at this point I'm working on a second novel, and I've got so many things that I've been doing that I think that it could probably be envisioned, but it would take a lot of work
Yeah,
to get as much of. I mean, this sounds like an immodest word, but like the richness of the characters in a play or even in a movie, it would be hard, I think, because most movies that are very ensemble-y, they're harder to do. People really want to follow their central characters. They want to
yeah.
have, they want to have, well, something like August Osage County, which was an amazing play. I don't know if you saw it,
Hmm.
but I was one of the many producers on that play. But and then they adapted it as a movie with a bunch of major actors in it, and I mean, so it can be done,
Yeah,
but it's maybe it's on my bucket list,
yeah.
but it's not in first place.
Yeah. Well, I see it adaptable. Obviously, it is a lot of work to adapt it and to turn this into a 90-page screenplay as opposed to, a novel. So some things would be lost, other things would be gained. The visual
Yeah.
element fills in a lot of the blanks, obviously, as well. I thought interesting in your book were the themes of love, loss, letting go. They're all central to Alpha Bette. Is there a message you're hoping to convey to readers dealing with tough times?
Well, I think it's maybe more subliminal than I wrote it thinking here's a message, but I do think it's very, it can be so hard for people to let go,
Mm,
and there's a lot of things we let go of in life. It's not just death.
yeah.
It can be your dreams. It could be having expectations in one direction and having to regroup. Um, so I think um, maybe there's to me at least a positive message in that how important communication is, and some of the people in the novel may not, like there's a character who has, I don't want to be too specific in case
Mhm.
I hope someone in your audience will buy the book,
Yeah.
but there's a character who's afraid of such something, and because of her fear, she holds back in getting the kind of support she could have gotten and needs.
Mm,
And so I feel that there's lessons in there that people can take away from it.
yeah.
Um, if I think about some of the other characters, the same thing could apply. There's one character, it's the daughter of the old lady, and she's given up so much that she didn't really have to give up.
Mm,
And grief there are people who are really done in by grief, and they just cannot move on in their lives. And it's very, I guess it's cavalier for me to say, oh, you got to move on, because thank God, other than my parents were in their 90s. So, of course, it was hard when they died, but it wasn't tragic.
mm,
And to have had a horrible loss, I, I, I don't know. I don't know how flexible I would be, but I feel like no matter what, you have other people in your lives and you have to move on. So, anyway,
yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
extent to which I can answer that.
Yeah. Bette Gartner, is she modeled after anyone?
No, she's a compilation. I mean, there's
Yeah.
certainly elements, I guess, of me because I can be bossy
Mm.
and controlling. Well, I shouldn't say that about myself, um, but I'm opinionated. Um, my mother, God knows, she was not only that, but my mother. There's elements of my mother because she lived to be almost the same age, and she was also at the end of her life in a wheelchair. And like I used to think of her as being militantly independent.
Mm,
So in many ways, that character is, and I guess bits and pieces of other characters. Enough I knew about them. I mean, it covers quite an age range. I mean,
yeah.
Bette is 95. I'm not 95. um, the youngest character is the daughter of the housekeeper, and she's about 15, 16. And I know plenty about teenage kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of grandchildren, and I've had a lot of children. I've had a lot of exposure, so I feel like I can make them pretty real. One of the things I had to work on too was making, because I'm in an age where I don't talk like teenagers, I had to make sure my dialogue for them was relevant
Right.
and real. So, this is something where you run it by other people and get their notes. But I have people in their 20s, people in their, all different ages. So there had to be something I could tap into for everybody that would, and I have a medium.
Do you?
I do. And she gets one chapter.
Okay. Gotcha.
But
let me ask you about your upcoming work. This was your debut novel, but now you're working on a second, I believe. Tell us about that.
Well, it's based on one of the characters in the novel who I have fun writing. Her name's Miss Seidenstricker, and she's kind of she certainly spews a lot of comments that sound racist and ugly and negative and stuff. She's a pathetic person, but it's also fun to write about nasty people, and also to kind of figure out what makes them tick, what made her that way. And I give certainly elements of it in this novel, where by the end of it, she will have become a little more likable to the reader than she does in her opening statements, where she's really vicious. But there's a lot I've created a whole life for her that's very different from this book.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm just trying to find time. I really, really want to be writing this book, and I'm having a hard time finding the kind of time I need to do it, but it's all in my head. And I would say I'm maybe at least a third of the way through, if not more. And I know where I want to go with it.
Awesome.
And I'm using a couple of characters. I haven't really said goodbye to that world, because those people are very real to me.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a very different story, and it'll have to stand on its own, and it'll be one point of view, which is, I don't think I could have done the first one that way, but hopefully I can do. It's funny, I've got one chapter in this that's done by, it's about somebody else, and I guess I'm not sure, it's kind of more third person. I don't know if it's really her point of view and that you go into her head. I have to reread it to think that. But I'm wondering if I have to rework that so that everything is more aligned with that one main character. So it's questions I have, and I have my trusted writing friends who will say to me, no, do that, or go ahead and do it, and they'll help me out.
Sounds great. Well, your sounding boards and your writing friends helped you out great with this book. Alpha Bette is more than just a novel. It's an exploration of the human condition, masterfully crafted by Jennifer Manocherian, from the joys and sorrows of a 95-year-old widow to the shared human experiences of her guests. This story invites us to reflect on our own lives and the people we hold dear. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.